So what I wanted to ask you first of all is, as a consumer, as a dude, have you ever been in a situation where you found yourself fronting for a group payment?
Oh yeah, definitely. In events and other things, there's always times where you're buying 4 tickets and you're hoping to split those up and use them. Not so much on the product category side, but definitely more on events and tickets and I guess I don't know, not much. You don't do other food purchases, but more on the event side, concerts and stuff.
Is it normally you? Are you the guy that ends up paying for everybody?
I'm more likely to find the promotion or find the event.
Okay.
So yeah, the first one that finds it, the one that commits and wants to do it the most is the one that fits the bill.
So actually, you're kind of punished for being the discoverer, for being the first mover.
That's a good point. Yep. Yeah, if you don't get everything back from everybody else that's going, for sure. Whether it's a sporting event or a concert, and you're buying 2, 4, 6 seats and trying to get everybody together, somebody's got to commit to putting up the bill for it. So that's the most recent example for me.
And do you think does it affect the quality of your friendships with people that owe you money back? Does it?
If they don't pay, for sure.
Did it ever happen?
Fairly luckily in that. I think in the end you get what you do, whether it's then or down the road later. But it definitely it's easier if you can make it cleaner from the start.
So you're a big believer in karma.
Exactly. Very much.
Karmic payments.
Very much so.
So we're trying to preempt karma, so everyone sorts it out before anyone owes anyone else money.
Well, it's starting with a clean slate, right? You're karma you're at a karma free from the beginning.
Karma free from the beginning. That's a great slogan we're going to use.
Yeah, right. I'm in the payment space right now with merchants and connecting the customer journey from online into store.
We believe that this is a valuable idea to merchants for several reasons. Mm-hmm. One is because it's good for customers, so it's easier for customers to make group purchases. Mm-hmm. There's less of a barrier to thinking they're going to be out of pocket or have a fight with somebody.
Right.
We also think there's a benefit to merchants because in a group payment, there's 2 or 3 people behind every payment who are invisible to the merchant.
Right.
So as a kind of a user acquisition, you would actually get the credit card details and email addresses of everyone that was booking that ticket, not just the sucker who thought about going.
Right, the first person. Yeah, so I owned customer and marketing systems at Macy's for 10 years. And
where's that?
At Macy's.
Okay.
And knowing your customer is critical for sure. And online transactions is the easiest way to get a detailed view of who your customer is. And I know for sure that there's some sporting event companies that are struggling with that because they're not, they're selling through brokerage, and they don't get visibility into that second and third purchaser. So that would definitely be a factor. I guess the big question is, are you providing them with a piece of software that they load onto their website and just split it, and then the rest of the payment transaction goes through as normal? Or are you actually facilitating, and becoming an intermediary in the payment process?
It's a great question. We are a white label software.
Okay.
The merchant owns their brand throughout the whole thing. Everything is branded. That sports company.
That's critical. They really don't want to redirect the consumer off of their page, right? So having that seamless and invisible to that customer interaction is going to be key.
And we believe, and from our research, those kinds of merchants, particularly sports events, are spending so much money on user acquisition, on discovery, and they're missing a whole bunch of people who are already fans, who are already customers, and they don't know who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I know several large sporting organizations. Barclays is one of them that struggles with that exact issue. They're usually disintermediated by the brokerage, which is still a really big part of their overall ticket purchasing. But most of them are trying to do ticket bundles where you can buy 4 or 5 season tickets in one bundle, and then they don't know who the other participants are. If the guy that's buying the bundle then ends up reselling them, they don't know that other person.
That's the value of what we're doing. It's low-hanging fruit. The people are already coming to the event. They want to pay for what you're doing.
Yep.
But as the merchant, you forced just one of them to introduce himself to you.
How do you work out though if let's say with the best of intentions, I have 3 people that want to get together and buy season tickets, and I'm breaking that up into thirds. The first portion of the transaction completes, but who's going to say that the second and the third portion is going to complete, and especially in time-critical event sales?
Yep.
How do I hold those seats during that 3-stage purchase process?
So we've got 2 models. There's the time-critical model and the non-time-critical model.
Okay.
Non is easy. Non-time-critical could be a day.
Yeah.
It's a period of time in which the group has a chance to book, and they either all book or it's cancelled.
Okay.
In time-critical, we're doing some experimentation where either we share the risk, so we tell the merchant, once one of them is committed, we commit for the rest of the cost.
Okay.
We might do that in some of the experimental phases, but we can't. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
There's a model where once 75% have committed, they're committed, and they may have a shortfall of 1. And if less than 75% commit, then the thing is cancelled. And it's within quite a short time frame.
Okay.
So it's a great question because we're experimenting with the ways to minimize the risk. The merchant mustn't have a risk.
Right.
So either we take the risk or the consumer has a limited period of time. Another model we're playing with is that the consumer can buy more time. So you're about to pay $600 for these 4 tickets, and you can pay $5 to increase the time window 24 hours.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and then also as a merchant, if I'm already accepting a certain transaction fee and an interchange for that purchase,
Yep.
if I split it up, am I incurring a penalty for that? Am I actually incurring additional fees because 3 people have each had a card not present transaction? And is the net effect of that more of a negative in my total revenue versus the benefit of allowing consumers to split it up?
You've nailed it. We can't add any more friction for the merchant or any more risk for the merchant.
Right.
So either we take the risk, or we limit or the customer shares the risk by buying an extension of time.
Yeah.
But we believe people would pay a little bit extra to buy the time so that the issue of money is fixed.
Yeah, and it's a real-time world, right? So I mean, as long as you can, push notification and you can, and again, that's great model of customer acquisition is you're the original buyer. Who are the 3 other participants? Give me their mobile number or their email address, and I'm now pushing a notification saying you have 30 seconds to put in your card data, or we lose this opportunity.
To that point, even if the deal falls through,
You still have
you've got the customer details.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of advantages to merchants, so long as we really, really respect each merchant's particular time limits and constraints.
Yeah, there's some restrictions on holding data for abandoned transactions, but you may be outside of that because you're really not in the transaction phase at that point. You're probably pre-transaction.
Yep.
And so you could probably accumulate that data and do a follow-up.
Abandoned carts is something we're really interested in because we see when people book for 1 or 2, there's very low abandonment.
Absolutely.
But as the number of people, as the size of the order goes up, the likelihood of abandonment gets higher.
Yeah.
And we think it's because of fronting, it's because of that risk.
In certain retail categories, I would definitely agree. There's a ton of other drivers for cart abandonment, and just the customer decision-making process. But there's, I'm sure, a lot of retail categories where that split is the factor involved in their decision.